The bank statement showed up looking innocent, and within 5 minutes I was being treated like I'd stolen from my own grandmother. Not in a vague, family drama way either. My aunt actually said, out loud, that she hoped I could live with myself. It was a plain white envelope forwarded to my apartment because Grandma's mail was still going to her old address. She'd died 6 weeks earlier, and I'd been the one doing the depressing cleanup tasks, canceling utilities, returning medical equipment, trying to get her prescriptions stopped so we didn't keep getting robocalls. I didn't even open the statement at first. I was sorting a stack of her mail into death certificate needed, junk, and this can wait. The bank envelope went into death certificate. Then I noticed it wasn't addressed to Grandma. It was addressed to the estate of Margaret H. That might sound normal, except the estate didn't exist yet. At least, not officially. Probate hadn't even started because my aunt, Grandma's oldest daughter, self-appointed project manager of grief, kept telling everyone she had it handled and we needed to let the professionals work. The only professional I'd seen was her friend Gina, who sold timeshares and was suddenly helping with paperwork. So why was there already an estate account statement, dated 2 weeks after Grandma died? I opened it. The balance was about $9,800. That could have been believable. Grandma wasn't rich, but the transactions were wrong. There was a deposit labeled insurance benefit for $42,317. Then, 3 withdrawals, $10,000, $8,000, and $6,500. All in cash equivalents, all with memo lines like admin reimbursement. Grandma's actual checking account, the one I used to help her pay bills, had roughly $4,000 when she died. I knew that because I'd been on her online banking the week before she passed, paying her property tax and arguing with her about donating to every charity that mailed her an envelope. I reread the statement like maybe my brain was skipping lines. Then I noticed the address on the account wasn't Grandma's house or my aunt's. It was a P.O. box in the next town over. I called the bank, trying to sound like a responsible adult and not someone about to accuse family members of financial fraud. The rep's tone tightened the second I said, estate. She asked if I was the executor. I said I didn't think anyone had been appointed yet. She put me on hold, came back, and told me she couldn't discuss account details with me. I told her I had the statement. That statement would have been sent to the executor, she said, very carefully. I'm holding it in my hand, I said. It came to my apartment because I forwarded Grandma's mail. There was a pause where I could tell she was choosing words that wouldn't get her fired. Then you should contact the executor listed on the account. I asked who the executor was. Another pause. I'm sorry, I can't provide that. So I did the stupidest thing possible. I texted my aunt a photo of the front page and wrote, "Hey, did you open an estate account already?" This came to me by mistake. Also, what are these withdrawals? She called within 30 seconds. Her voice was syrupy at first. Where did you get that? Her mail got forwarded, I said. I'm just trying to understand. You opened it? It's a bank statement, and it's literally addressed to the estate. So you admit you opened mail that wasn't yours, she snapped, like she'd been waiting for a chance to scold me. I have people helping me. You're not in charge here. I'm not trying to be in charge. I'm asking why over 20 grand disappeared. That's when her voice changed. Gone was the grief performance. You're accusing me? After everything I've done? I'm asking a question, I said, and even to me it sounded weak. She hung up. By that evening, I was getting texts from my cousins, her kids, asking why I was causing drama and snooping through estate finances. One cousin sent a message that basically read like a legal threat, which was impressive for a guy who once tried to use a W-2 to buy beer. 2 days later we had what my aunt called a family meeting, which was held at Grandma's church after choir practice, because apparently public venues keep people civil. Translation. Witnesses. I walked into the fellowship hall and immediately felt the temperature. My aunt had positioned herself at one end of the long table with the pastor's wife and 3 church ladies I'd never met but who looked ready to exorcise me. She didn't start with the money. She started with me, violating trust. She told everyone I'd been intercepting Grandma's mail and opening it, without permission, which made it sound like I was running some kind of identity theft ring out of my kitchen. Then she slid a folder across the table like she was presenting evidence on a courtroom drama. We have to talk about the missing jewelry, she said. I actually laughed. A single ugly sound. What jewelry? Grandma had 2 rings and a necklace that turned her neck green. She wore the rings every day until the hospice nurse asked her to take them off because her fingers swelled. My aunt looked at me like I'd just proven her point. Don't play dumb. I felt my cheeks go hot. The church ladies were watching me with that tight, polite disapproval people reserve for someone who cuts in line. And then she said the thing that really cornered me. If you weren't doing anything wrong, why are you digging through bank statements? It was such a neat trap. If I argued, I looked guilty and defensive. If I stayed quiet, it would be taken as a confession. I tried to explain that I only noticed it because it came to my address and the numbers didn't match what I knew Grandma had. My aunt smiled, small and sharp. So you were tracking her accounts. The pastor's wife made a noise like she'd bitten into something sour. I could feel my reputation leaking out of the room in real time. It wasn't just family disagreement. It was young relative who took advantage of an old woman. I drove home shaking, partly from anger and partly from this gross, humiliating fear that they could actually make people believe it. That night I did what I should have done first. I called the probate court clerk. I told her Grandma had passed, and asked if an executor had been filed yet. The clerk said no will filed, no petition, nothing. I asked, is it possible to open an estate of bank account without probate? She sighed like she'd heard this story before. Banks have their own internal requirements, but generally someone brings in a death certificate and paperwork. If there's no court appointment, it's questionable. Then she said, if you think there's financial abuse, you can file an objection once someone petitions, or you can talk to law enforcement. I didn't want cops at Grandma's funeral leftovers. But I also couldn't let my aunt paint me as the thief while she emptied whatever accounts she had access to. I remembered something small and easy to overlook. During hospice, Grandma had asked me to help her locate her life insurance policy. She'd said, your mother will handle everything, but I want you to know where it is. My mother had died years ago. She meant my aunt. At the time, I thought it was just an old person naming confusion. I dug through the folder Grandma kept under her recliner. Inside was the policy. The beneficiary wasn't my aunt. It was split. 50% to my aunt, 50% to me. I sat there with that paper in my hands, hearing the church ladies in my head acting like I was a criminal, and suddenly the admin reimbursements made perfect sense. My aunt wasn't skimming because she was evil. She was skimming because she was terrified. If half the insurance was legally mine, she couldn't control the narrative, couldn't control the money, couldn't control the image of herself as the martyr daughter who handled everything. So she rushed to create an estate account, funneled the insurance deposit into it, and started pulling cash out before anyone could stop her. Then she preemptively accused me of stealing so that if I questioned anything, I'd look like I was trying to cover my tracks. The irony was almost impressive. The next day I called the insurance company directly. I gave them the policy number, my ID, and a copy of the death certificate. The representative confirmed I was a beneficiary and that a claim had been initiated, but not completed. Someone submitted partial documentation, she said. We haven't released the full amount. I told her someone had a statement showing an insurance deposit into an estate account. She went quiet. Then, that shouldn't happen without the claim being paid. Are you sure it's from us? Suddenly my stomach wasn't in my throat anymore. It was on the floor. Because that meant the deposit wasn't the insurance at all. It was Grandma's retirement account. Grandma had a small IRA through her old employer. I'd forgotten about it because she never touched it. But I remembered, now, that my aunt once mentioned rolling it over when Grandma got sick. She'd said it like a boring errand. She'd also asked me, casually, if Grandma had ever shared account logins. I filed for probate myself the same day, which felt like declaring war with a stapler. I paid the filing fee, submitted the death certificate, and attached the beneficiary page of the insurance policy. When my aunt found out, she showed up at my apartment building with my cousin and knocked like she was serving a warrant. In the hallway, where my neighbors could hear, she hissed that I was trying to steal her mother's legacy. I told her, very evenly, stop. There's no executor. You're not authorized to do any of this. She said, you don't know what you're talking about. And then, because she couldn't help herself, she added, you opened that statement because you were hoping there'd be more. It was such a clean confession. Not of a crime, but of motive. The court appointed a neutral administrator once they saw the competing claims. The administrator subpoenaed the bank records. There were signatures that didn't match Grandma's, a P.O. box my aunt had opened, and withdrawals that lined up with my aunt paying off her credit card and putting a down payment on a used SUV. When the administrator called a meeting, it was in an office, not a church hall, and suddenly nobody wanted to look me in the eye. My cousins went from, "How could you?" to, "I mean, Mom was stressed." The pastor's wife didn't text me back. My aunt didn't get arrested, which people always ask about when I tell this. The administrator negotiated repayment to the estate and reported it. The bank flagged it. The real consequence was quieter. She lost any claim to be executor, and every financial decision had to go through someone who didn't care about her tears. I did get my half of the insurance. I also got something less tangible and more expensive: the knowledge that keeping the peace is just another way families pick who gets sacrificed. That bank statement didn't just show me missing money. It showed me exactly how fast people will believe the worst about you if it makes their version of the story more comfortable.